Hey, Rainbow here, and I have been waiting a really long time to get my hands on this one. This is a 2023 Ducati Street Fighter V2, okay? It's a V2, not a V4. I took the V4 out once before, and I think a 21, so I haven't done one in maybe almost 2 years. Anyway, this is the V2. Surprised that it's available. This one was actually pre-sold, so I wasn't able to ride it. And then the guy who was going to buy this backed out because he went and ended up purchasing a Diavel 1260. So interesting change. Must be a reason behind that, obviously. But let's take a look at this puppy right now. Okay, it is walk around spec time. You are looking at, like I said, the 2023 Ducati Street Fighter V2. All right, it is the most recent upgrade because the old one was like the Street Fighter 848, based off of the Panigale 848, except this time I think they really hit the mark this time, because I think last time they just quite didn't have the suspension and handling right on the old Street Fighter, and this one certainly feels a hell of a lot better. Now, this is a sports naked, and let's see. I'll give you the dry weight. Let's just start off with that. The dry weight is 178 kilograms, otherwise known as 392 pounds to the rest of us here in the, well, to just us in the US. And has a wet weight of 200 kilograms or 441 pounds, so it's a relatively lightweight bike. Now, this particular one is storm green. It's nice. You would think me as a former military guy, I would be totally into this bike, this color, but I'm not. To me, I think if you're gonna have a Ducati, you might as well have a Ducati red or maybe Ducati white. All right, so let's get down to brass tacks and we'll talk about this engine that's really kind of hidden here. You really can't see much of it at all. So 955cc Super Quadro. Hear that? It's a twin Desmo, so it does have the Desmodici valves. Now this puppy, man, just looks beefy here, okay? 153 horsepower at 10,750 RPM. Now, the torque is what really impresses me on this one. 101 Newton meters of torque, and that is at 9,000 RPM. And I said Newton meters, that would be about 75 pound-feet of torque. Now, this actually has the same exhaust as the Panigale V2, so it shares the same things, of course, as the stock one with that big dumb catalytic converter on there, and all because of the Euro standards, which to me, well, that's a subject for another video. All right, so we have a 6th speed, and it has a quick shift up and down, and it's a chain and sprocket as expected, of course. 15 teeth on the front and 45 in the rear. Now, frame wise, can't really see a frame. That's because it's that monocoque aluminum frame. And the front, we have fully adjustable. And let's see, you see them in there? Let's see if we can zoom in. All right, there's for the front, fully adjustable. Showa BPF 43 millimeter forks. And that controls basically a 3.5 by 17 inch front wheel. And on the rear, as you can see, the way this thing is really horizontal, practically almost 100% horizontal. This is a Sachs monoshock that is also fully adjustable, and that controls the rear wheel, which is a 5.5 inch by 17 inch. And of course, that is on a single-sided swing arm, which I just showed you a picture of a little bit ago. Now, here we go. The tires that come from the factory, Diablo Rosso 4, Diablo Rosso 4s, okay? Brakes, as you would expect with Ducati, dual Brembos on the front, and they are 320 millimeter, and of course a single on the back that is a 245, where are we at there? 245 millimeter. A couple other things to talk about with this bike, and that is that it has a TFT there that's about 4.3 inches. This thing does come with 3 riding modes, all right? And that's pretty much all you need. It has rain is one mode. The other mode is road. And the last road, as you would expect, is sport, which is what I actually have it in, and I'm probably just going to leave it in because I want to test it with the most aggressive on it. This has cornering ABS, Ducati traction control, Ducati wheelie control, and engine braking control, which is actually something, to be quite honest with you, I wish that I had on the Multistrada Pikes Peak. That would have been nice. So let's put this leg over it and let's take it for a spin. All right, sound check. Here we go, sound check. Woo! Listen to that V2. 950 cc's of pure Ducati power, right? All right. Now, before I even go anywhere, let's talk about this seating position here. It feels pretty good. I don't know what the seat height is. I will look it up and I will post it on the screen just above that TFT, okay? So you can see what the seat height is. And other than that, I can tell you that it feels slightly forward. It's certainly a little aggressive because after all, this is based off the Panigale. And every time I get on a naked bike like this, every single time I get on like a supermoto, I always have the same feeling. I think like I'm right there in the front. That's me because I'm not used to riding these things on a regular basis. I'm used to having a lot of bike in front of me, whether it's a big old Indian or a adventure bike or a sport bike. I'm just used to having that in front. All right, let's get this visor down. So yeah, the seating position is really not bad. It's slightly forward, but it's certainly a lot more comfortable than a sport bike, and of course it should be more comfortable than a sport bike. All right, buddy, it actually is comfortable, and I think this would be pretty cool for commuting. Decent amount of get up and go. My feet do not feel like they're back as far as they actually are that you would see in a photo of someone riding this bike. To me, it actually feels pretty comfortable. Now, I am 5'11.5" and have a 32-inch inseam if that helps you. And this bike is very easy to flat foot, just so that you're aware. There we go. And I do like the bike. There's the quick shift. Take it for one more spin to kind of help warm these tires up a little bit for myself. Beautiful. Nice and smooth. Really love the sound, and this is definitely a fun bike. Absolutely a fun bike. Really like it. Ton of fun here on this bike. The quick shifter is very smooth. The tires that it comes with, I really like these. Awesome tires. That was interesting. A little harder to get that front end up. But that's me. I'm just not used to this bike yet. All right, let's check the braking. Oh, you can hear the ABS kicking in, but that has pretty good emergency braking. Feels good. It is a very comfortable bike, and it is certainly a lot of fun. Now, I'm going to compare this
against its bigger brother or bigger sister, or whatever you want to call it. And I am absolutely positively going to compare this against the Street Fighter V4. What I can tell you about the Street Fighter V4 is that it is one of the few bikes that actually scared me. I'm not ashamed to say that. 49 years of riding motorcycles, that V4 Street Fighter, it's a bit scary. And the reason to me why it's a little scary is because you're in this similar seating position. You feel like, oh, I'm on a naked bike, this is going to be fun. But you're really sitting on a Panigale. And what it does to you is it kind of, you drop your guard and then you don't realize the power to weight ratio on that V4. So that Street Fighter is just a very scary machine. It's a ton of fun, but you really have to have a lot of respect for it. And the other thing is, with that particular V4, a lot of your big heavy end power is on the upper rev range, where this thing, with the nice amount of torque that it has, I think that this is a more practical bike. So I would absolutely, if someone said, hey, I'm going to give you a free V4, or I'm going to give you a free V2 Street Fighter, I would say, I'll take the V2. I absolutely would take the V2, because it has all the power that you need and more. And I'm going to tell you, you know, with most people are probably at my level or better, the bike is more capable than the rider. So why do I need to go to a V4 when I have this fantastic V2 here that feels good? I didn't talk about how nimble, but it's because of the position of the handlebars, it makes it feel like it's still even more nimble than it probably is. It's just a really good bike. I like it. Now the turning radius is decent. You have to put some lead into it. I did notice when I was wheeling it around to get it out of the shop that I didn't get as much of a turn on it that I would have some of the other bikes. But let's continue after this light. Now, because it is a brand new bike that hasn't had its first service yet, I can't go nuts with it. I have to have some level of respect here for the engine. I'm gonna take it easy. Oh yeah, this has some torque, baby. This feels good. Now, it's a naked bike. I'm not expecting a lot of wind protection, and I'm not getting any. Even when you tuck in, you can really feel it coming over the front of the bike. So as far as long-term, long travel, touring or anything like that, I'm gonna say no. Woo! Lots of wind. Lots of wind, but that's expected. So I think this will be great on the track, because you're only going to have those long stretches for those straights where you're going to have a ton of wind, but you're going to be severely tucked in and be a little bit more appropriately dressed than I am. So I could see this bike being a really fun track bike and a really fun, well, I'm going to go back to the commuting, but this is more than a commuter. This is just a little too powerful to be considered a commuter bike. So while I'm sitting at this light waiting for another one to turn green, let's talk about the heat buildup. All right, you are on a Ducati. They do run hot. You are on a naked bike. They do run hot. And these bikes, the Panigale V2, the V4s, they all have a pretty damn good reputation for just being hot to sit on. Now, I'm feeling it on the inside of my thighs while I'm at the light. While I'm riding it, I'm really not feeling it, of course, because we have a lot of wind flow going by. But this is a tip. If you ride Ducatis, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, you may not, but you should, because I'm sitting still at a light with a very powerful bike. Of course, it's going to have some heat buildup. Now, it's not unbearable like I've had on some bikes, but this one is pretty normal and very tolerable. And this is just with me wearing jeans, right? If you're going to get on a motorcycle and you're going to wear shorts and complain about the heat, well, that's your problem. Now, because this has a shorter wheelbase and it is a very fast, torquey bike, you can see that it has a steering stabilizer that it comes with from the factory, which is a really good idea, because we wouldn't want to have ourselves a tank slapper on this bike, or any bike for that matter. Power delivery, it seems to be pretty smooth. It feels like a V2 to me, and I am really enjoying this bike. Downshifting feels pretty good. Now, the engine braking on this one is adjustable, and it's very faint. I can't really feel a ton of well, that's first gear. All first gear has. Yeah, this has adjustable engine braking, and this engine braking is nowhere near as harsh as the V4. All right, so it's that time. Let's see how it feels going over railroad tracks. And these are pretty decent railroad tracks. They're not horrible, but it raises up. Wow, handled it extremely well. It just really seems like all of the bikes are handling it really well these days. Maybe some of your cruisers aren't going to handle it as well, that only have maybe 3 inches of suspension travel. Yeah, you're going to have a problem no matter what with a bike like that. Ah, Detour, huh? Interesting. Detour. So I guess my Detour is going to turn into four-wheeling, huh? So you really feel the power in that upper rev range. So it is smooth and wonderful, and a good linear delivery in the lower end. But once you wake this thing up above 7, like really above like 75, 8,000 RPM, that's when this bike really comes alive, and you can just feel the power of this bike. And I'm going to repeat myself. If I had a choice between this and the V4, I'm going to take this all day long. This is a great bike. I mean, I really love this bike. This is a lot of fun. That's like the key phrase for a lot of my videos. This bike's a lot of fun. I guess anytime you're riding a motorcycle, it's fun, but not necessarily. I've been on some bikes I didn't like. Let's do one more lap down here to feel it now that the tire's a little bit warmer. Let's see how flickable it is changing directions here. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Wow. That wasn't even too hard to lock up the rear brake a little bit, but the ABS kicked in, of course. Well, I think that about does it for me. I am pretty happy with this bike. Another great bike. Would not call this a commuter really because of the heat. I would call this a track bike. I could call this a hooligan bike if you want. This is a very powerful, very fun bike that has a lot to offer. A lot of good electronics on it. The ABS I tested out pretty good. The tires that come from the factory are very sticky. They seem to really hold well after I warmed them, even before I warmed up the tire. These are brand new tires that aren't even really scrubbed in, and these Rosso Corso 4s are very sticky. You know, I wasn't pushing it a ton, but this is just a really good bike, and it's pretty darn comfortable. I mean, it's certainly more comfortable than my RC390, which is a pretty comfortable bike. It's not too bad. So I like this bike. And as always, please thank you, Ian, from Ducati Forza, otherwise known as Two Wheels World, here in Pompano Beach. And this bike is actually available, which really surprised me because I've been trying to get a hold of this bike, or a V2, for a while, but they're always spoken for, and of course they're never going to let me ride someone else's bike. So this was a blessing for me. I appreciate it. And as you can see, there are a ton of bikes in here to choose from. Many of these are here getting serviced, but they are good bikes nonetheless. Okay, this is Rembo. Please like, please subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much, and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.